Hey guys, this is Craig, and I got a Manicore about a week or so ago, and I've been taking it out and having a fun time figuring it out, and been finding some stuff that the other detectors have missed. And I had a funny one yesterday. I went into my backyard right by my back steps, and the first signal I got kind of an iffy signal, and I decided to dig it, and it turned out there was iron, a couple iron nails in the ground, fairly shallow. And when I was digging, it was really rocky, and so I dug down probably about 6 inches. And when I was taking the dirt out of the ground, I found this. It was just sitting there. It's an Indian arrowhead. And so I've been doing some research, and I found out that the Iroquois and I think the Mohawkins were here like 13,000 to 11,000 years ago in the Shenandoah Valley. And I thought that was pretty cool. That's probably one of the oldest artifacts I've found. And I lived in Alexandria and years ago, and I started hunting down Route 1 toward Fredericksburg. And one day when I was uh, driving down that way, I saw a relic hunter that I knew and was talking to him, and he'd hunted where this Fourth Texas camp was, and it was right between Nabasco Creek and Austin Run. Beautiful area, real high ridge. You could look over toward the Potomac, and there's still a house there that was built in 1700, and it was owned by George Washington's attaché and George Washington's army. It was right off of Route 1. It was called Gravelly Road back then, and the Cornwallis, the French army, and uh, George Washington's army marched from Alexandria down to Botany Bay near Stafford, and uh, I'm sorry, yeah, it was that area. But they got on boats and went down to fight Cornwallis and ended the war by defeating him. And I'd heard about this Fourth Texas camp, and all these guys wouldn't tell me where it was, so I started doing some research, and I found out that I needed to. There was a couple clues. One of them was there was a Austrian cartologist that went up in a balloon during the Civil War off a boat in the Potomac, and he drew a map and he showed all the camps. And one was the Fourth Texas, and another camp that I hunted that was pretty good was the 18th Georgia. And so I decided one day, to go down that way. And I found another clue that the camp was in that area was there was a big power line that went through it. So I drove around, uh, and I found this power line, and it was going up this huge hill. So I decided I was going to go the next day and see if I could, walk up there and see what was going on. And a friend of my brother's had never metal detected before, and so I gave him one of my whites to use, and I was using a Nautilus, and uh, which is a relic hunting machine. And so we walked up the ridge, and it was really steep. And the guy he was hurting. I was a track star and a tennis player when I was younger, and I used to walk miles and it didn't bother me at all. And when we got up there, it was just a beautiful view. And I looked up to the right and I saw these cedar trees all they were like huge. They were so big that you couldn't even slip between them in this big grove. And so I told the guy, I said, there's a colonial house site or something up there. And he goes, how do you know? And I said, I see the cedar trees. I said, back then that wood was extremely important in the colonial times. You needed it for firewood and building and everything else. And so when we got up there, I could see pottery on the ground, and uh, it was very, it was a lot of, it was very thick. It was hard to even get into that area. And later on, well, on the other side of the power lines was the Fort Texas camp, and it took me a while before I found that. But they didn't have a whole lot of artifacts. It was like they were one of the first camps that came into that area, and so that day we didn't find a whole lot, but when I was going down into this, I went down this little path that went down the hill, and then there was like a little flat area, and I got a signal, and I dug a Metropolitan Police button from the 1800s. I think it was had gold all over it and everything, and got a couple flat buttons. And so I started going back there a lot, and I ended up finding when they did the construction, this place was one of the most loaded places I've ever seen. I dug so many old artifacts, and I got a lot of arrowheads when they were bulldozing. The property was owned by a developer named Hazel Till, and he liked relic hunters, and because if we were on the property and somebody started messing with their equipment, that was kind of a no-no. And so he liked us, and I found some amazing artifacts up there. I found a lot of arrowheads when they bulldozed and scraped the ground. There was just stuff laying on the ground everywhere, and all kinds of little chips and stuff where they were making them. I probably found at least 30 arrowheads up there. Also found, I think it was 8 half reals and 1 2 real. All kinds of King George coins, Confederate buttons. I found Mississippi, Georgia. Never found a Texas one. The buttons were very rare from them. I can't remember some of the other buttons we found, but there was a lot of flat buttons. And King George, the large coppers, and there was other things, like you'd be walking along and you'd see broken clay pipes and stems, and as people liked to smoke tobacco back then, there was a ton of, pipe stems all over the place. And one day when they were bulldozing a little bit of a distance away from the main house, I ended up getting 2 USA pewter buttons, which were the first buttons that ever had at that George Washington's army, the soldiers wore those buttons when they went down to fight Cornwallis, and the it was pretty amazing that I didn't have my glasses with me that day, and I found the first one. I found a large, coat size USA, and I saw later on. I saw about 5 relic hunters walking up, and so I went over and I showed. I think it was Kevin Ambrose, and I said, "I don't have my glasses." I said, "Is this what I think it is?" And his eyes popped out of his head. So I started hunting that area really carefully, and I got a kind of a weak signal a couple days later, and dug a cuff size USA button. But there was some amazing buttons. I got Mississippi, Georgia. I even had a dream where a soldier showed me where he had dropped his button, and when I woke up, I just jumped in my clothes and drove down there. I walked right to the spot and dug a beautiful Georgia cuff button, and right where he showed me where it was. That was pretty weird. I've had some prophetic dreams over the years. I think the soldiers want us to find their lost items, and it may sound kind of weird, but I think that's the dead like us to find, their artifacts, and we kind of then have a connection to them. Later on, I got into the 16th Georgia camp, and there was quite a few I'd be digging a bullet up and pop a arrowhead out of the ground, and that camp was a fairly poor camp. The Georgia troops didn't have a lot, but they had round ball and bucking ball. Whereas on the other side, we found a ton of Enfields from the 4th Texas camp, but that was quite of an experience. And over the years, I got so where I could be walking along, and I could just all of a sudden I'd see my eye would catch a arrowhead. Most of them were made out of quartz, I believe, and then some were made out of what's called chert, which is a gray material. And I was looking up; they were here from 11 to 13,000 years ago, and I think the Iroquois were in the Middletown, Virginia area where I am now, but. This is pretty cool. It's a pretty neat little. I'm wondering if this was like they use this to shoot birds or something. I don't think a lot of the arrowheads I found were much bigger than this down there. Where they were probably shooting deer or something. But I thought that was pretty cool. It was right next to my back steps. In my yard, so there's probably more in the yard, but the trouble is you just have to have luck. I got lucky and found this little point here. All right, guys, you guys have a good day, and I'm enjoying this Manicore. It's really a good machine, and I've already found stuff that the other machines haven't found, so check it out. All right, man. Have a good one.